Ladies and gentlemen, life isn't just something that happens to you. It's something you do or fail to do, and every single day you're faced with a choice. Will you rise to the occasion, or will you shrink back into the shadows of what could have been? Let me tell you something hard but necessary. You are far more capable than you believe, but that capability doesn't mean a thing if you don't act on it. You've got dreams, ambitions, things you tell yourself you'll get to someday. But someday is a myth. Someday is the lie we tell ourselves to avoid the discomfort of today. You want success, you want meaning, then you have to earn it, and earning it means sacrifice. It means discipline. It means looking in the mirror and asking yourself the brutal question, what am I avoiding? Because if you're honest, you already know the answer. You know the habits that are holding you back. You know the excuses you keep making. You know the fear that's paralyzing you. Here's the truth, fear doesn't go away. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the decision that what you're fighting for is more important than the fear. So what are you fighting for? What's the thing that gets you out of bed in the morning? If you don't have an answer to that, you're already losing. You think greatness is for other people, wrong. Greatness is for those who are willing to pay the price. And the price is steep. It's long hours, it's rejection, it's failure over and over again, but failure isn't the end. Failure is the lesson. Every time you fall, you learn. Every time you get back up, you grow stronger. You've been given a mind, a body, a will. What are you doing with them? Are you wasting time on distractions? Are you letting other people dictate your worth? Or are you taking responsibility, full responsibility for your life? Because no one is coming to save you. No one is going to hand you success on a silver platter. You have to take it, and how do you take it? By showing up every single day, by doing the work even when you don't feel like it, by pushing through the doubt, the fatigue, the voice in your head that says, maybe I'm not good enough. That voice is a liar. You are good enough, but only if you act like it. So here's what you do. You set a goal. Not some vague wish, but a real, concrete target, and then you break it down into steps. Small, manageable steps, and then you execute. No excuses, no delays, just action. Because action is what separates the dreamers from the achievers. And when it gets hard, and it will get hard, you don't quit. You dig deeper. You remember why you started. You remember that the pain of discipline is nothing compared to the pain of regret. You were not put on this earth to be mediocre. You were put here to strive, to struggle, to overcome. So stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. The perfect moment doesn't exist. The only moment you have is now. So what are you going to do with it? You know, there's a fundamental truth about life that most people spend their entire existence avoiding. Nothing happens until you decide to make it happen. The gap between where you are and where you want to be isn't bridged by wishes, dreams, or even intelligence. It's bridged by action. Relentless, consistent, uncompromising action. And yet, day after day, people choose excuses over effort. They convince themselves that tomorrow will be different, that circumstances will magically align, that some external force will grant them the life they desire without them having to fight for it. That's not how reality works. That's not how success is built. That's not how legends are made. Think about the last time you told yourself, I'll start tomorrow. Why? What was stopping you from starting right then? Was it fear? Laziness? Comfort, the brutal reality, is that tomorrow is just another word for never if you don't take control of today. Every second you spend waiting for the perfect moment is a second wasted, because the perfect moment doesn't exist. There will always be a reason not to act. There will always be an excuse to delay. The economy isn't right. You're not ready. You don't have enough time, enough money, enough knowledge. But here's the truth. If you wait until all conditions are perfect, you'll be waiting until you die. Action is the antidote to fear. Action is the destroyer of doubt. Action is the only thing that separates those who dream from those who achieve. You don't need more motivation. You don't need another inspirational quote or a pep talk. You need to move, because the moment you take that first step, no matter how small, you shift from being a passive observer of your life to the active creator of it. And that's where real power lies. Excuses are the chains that keep people trapped in mediocrity. I'm too old, I'm too young. I don't have the right connections. I'm not smart enough. These aren't truths. They're lies you tell yourself to justify inaction. Because deep down, you know the real reason you haven't started is that starting is hard. Starting means risking failure. Starting means stepping into the unknown, and the human mind would rather cling to the safety of stagnation than face the discomfort of growth. But here's the paradox. The only way to escape stagnation is to embrace the very discomfort you're avoiding. Look at anyone who has ever accomplished anything extraordinary. Did they have perfect circumstances? No. Did they have unlimited resources? No. Did they have some magical guarantee of success? Absolutely not. What they had was a refusal to make excuses. They had the willingness to act despite fear, despite uncertainty, despite the odds. They understood that action is the currency of progress, and that every minute spent rationalizing inaction is a minute stolen from their potential. So ask yourself, what excuses are you holding on to right now? What story are you telling yourself about why you can't move forward? And more importantly, what would happen if you stopped telling it? What if, instead of saying I can't, you said I will? What if, instead of waiting for confidence, you acted your way into it, because confidence doesn't come first, action does. You don't become brave and then take the leap. You take the leap and then become brave. The world doesn't reward intentions, it doesn't reward plans, it rewards doing. Every great invention, every empire built, every legacy left behind was the result of someone choosing action over excuses. The difference between you and the person you admire isn't talent or luck. It's the willingness to act while others hesitate. So here's the challenge. Eliminate the word tomorrow from your vocabulary when it comes to your goal. If something is important, do it now, not the perfect version of it, not the fearless version of it. Just do it. Imperfect action will always trump perfect inaction, because inaction guarantees failure, while action, no matter how small, puts you on the path to something greater. The clock is ticking. Every day you delay is a day you'll never get back. So what's it going to be? Will you stay paralyzed by excuses, or will you rise up and claim what's yours? The choice is yours. And the consequences of that choice will define your life. Fear isn't some temporary obstacle that vanishes once you gather enough courage. It's a constant companion on the road to anything worthwhile. It doesn't magically dissolve when you decide to pursue greatness. It lingers, whispering doubts, magnifying risks, and testing your resolve at every turn. But here's what most people fail to understand. Fear isn't your enemy. Surrendering to it is. The goal isn't to eliminate fear. That's impossible. The goal is to recognize it, acknowledge it, and then move forward despite it. Because on the other side of that fear is the life you claim to want. Consider this. Every meaningful endeavor in human history was accomplished not by those who felt no fear, but by those who refused to let it dictate their actions. Explorers setting sail into uncharted waters didn't do so because they were certain of smooth seas. They did it because the pull of discovery outweighed the terror of the unknown. Entrepreneurs don't build empires because they're immune to failure. They do it because their vision burns brighter than their dread of bankruptcy. Fear isn't a sign you're on the wrong path, it's often proof you're on the right one. The things worth pursuing will always scare you. If they don't, you're aiming too low. Yet so many people misinterpret fear as a stop sign. They believe that if something terrifies them, it must be a warning to turn back. But that's a fundamental misunderstanding of how fear operates. Fear isn't a prophet. It's a primitive instinct, a leftover survival mechanism designed to keep you safe, not to propel you forward. And while safety has its place, a life governed entirely by avoidance of risk is a life half-lived. The most dangerous risk of all is the risk of regret, of looking back years from now and realizing you let fear make your decisions for you. The key isn't to wait until you're unafraid. That day will never come. The key is to recalibrate your relationship with fear, to understand that its presence doesn't mean you're inadequate, but that you're stretching beyond your current limits. Think of fear as a kind of growth indicator. The more something frightens you, the more it has the potential to transform you. Public speaking terrifies most people not because it's inherently dangerous, but because it forces them to be seen, to be judged, to risk embarrassment. And in doing so, it forges confidence that permeates every other area of life. This is why courage isn't the absence of fear, but the judgment that something else is more important. A firefighter charging into a burning building isn't unafraid. They've simply decided that saving lives matters more than their own survival instinct. That's the essence of true bravery, not the elimination of fear, but the mastery of it. And mastery comes through repeated exposure. Every time you face what scares you, whether it's a difficult conversation, a career leap, or the vulnerability of pursuing love, you dilute its power over you. Fear grows weaker in the face of action, but here's where most people go wrong. They assume that courage looks like dramatic once in a lifetime acts of heroism. In reality, courage is a daily practice. It's saying no to distractions when you should be working. It's ending a toxic relationship even when loneliness looms. It's admitting you were wrong and changing course. These are the moments that truly define you, not the grand gestures, but the small, consistent choices to do what's right over what's easy, and make no mistake, fear will adapt to try to stop you. Just when you think you've conquered one form of it, another will emerge. Fear of failure might give way to fear of success, of the responsibility and expectations that come with winning. Fear of rejection might morph into fear of authenticity, of showing the world who you really are. This is why overcoming fear isn't a one-time event, but an ongoing discipline. You don't defeat it. You outmaneuver it day by choosing purpose over paralysis. The most successful people aren't those who never feel fear. They're the ones who have developed the habit of acting in spite of it. They've learned to distinguish between legitimate danger, which should be heeded, and psychological resistance, which should be ignored. They understand that the voice of fear often speaks loudest right before a breakthrough. And so they've made a pact with themselves. When fear screams, they take it as a signal to lean in, not retreat. This is the crucible in which character is formed. Your mettle isn't tested when everything is easy. It's revealed when every fiber of your being wants to quit. That's why the things you're most afraid of are frequently the very experiences you need to become who you're capable of being. Rejection teaches resilience. Failure builds wisdom. Uncertainty cultivates adaptability. The obstacles you dread are often the exact challenges required to forge your strength. So the question isn't whether you'll feel fear. You will, inevitably. The question is whether you'll let it sit in the driver's seat. Will you allow it to shrink your ambitions, silence your voice, and keep you playing small? Or will you acknowledge its presence, thank it for trying to protect you, and then proceed anyway? Because that's the secret. Fear loses its veto power the moment you stop treating it as a command and start treating it as background noise. This isn't about becoming fearless. It's about becoming someone who fears the right things, not temporary discomfort, but permanent stagnation. Not making mistakes, but never trying. Not the pain of effort, but the agony of regret. When you shift your perspective in this way, fear transforms from a roadblock into a compass, pointing you toward exactly what you need to face next. The path to everything you want is paved with things you're afraid to do. That's not an accident, that's design. Growth demands discomfort. Expansion requires tension. The version of you that exists on the other side of your fears is stronger, wiser, and more alive than the version that plays it safe. So don't wait for fear to disappear. It won't. Instead, give yourself something more compelling to focus on, a purpose so magnetic that fear becomes irrelevant by comparison. That's how you outweigh it. That's how you move forward. That's how you win. Greatness isn't bestowed like some royal title. It's seized through relentless effort, sacrifice, and an unshakable refusal to accept mediocrity. Look around at anyone who has ever achieved something extraordinary, and you'll find a trail of blood, sweat, and sleepless nights behind them. There are no shortcuts, no secret handshakes, no backdoor deals with destiny. The universe doesn't care about your potential. It only rewards what you actually do with it. Talent is cheap. Ideas are a dime a dozen. What separates the exceptional from the average isn't some innate gift. It's the willingness to endure what others won't, to persist when others quit, to grind when others rest. You can want success all you like, but wanting is the weakest form of commitment. The world is full of people who desire greatness but aren't willing to pay the price for it. They want the accolades without the adversity, the rewards without the risk, the victory without the fight. But life doesn't work that way. Every master was once a disaster. Every champion was once a beginner. The difference between where they started and where they ended wasn't luck. It was labor. Day after day, year after year, they showed up when no one was watching, put in the work when no one was cheering, and refused to let temporary failures become permanent defeats. There's a brutal truth you must confront. No one is coming to hand you anything. No one owes you recognition, respect, or results. You earn them, or you don't get them. The marketplace of life is ruthlessly meritocratic. It doesn't care about your excuses, your hardships, or how unfair things seem. It only responds to value, what you can contribute, what problems you can solve, what excellence you can deliver. And that excellence isn't developed in comfort. It's forged in the fires of repetition, failure, and relentless self-improvement. Consider the athlete who spends years training for a single moment of glory. The writer who drafts and redrafts a manuscript a dozen times before it's worthy of being read. The entrepreneur who faces rejection after rejection before finally breaking through. None of them were handed their success. They took it through sheer force of will. They understood that greatness isn't an event, it's a process. It's not a single heroic effort, but the accumulation of thousands of small, disciplined actions performed consistently over time. This is where most people falter. They romanticize the idea of success, but recoil from the daily grind required to attain it. They want the highlight reel without the grueling practice sessions. They crave the applause, but not the solitude of mastery. But here's the reality. The hours you spend honing your craft when no one is watching determine whether you'll ever have an audience. The sacrifices you make today, the parties missed, the comforts denied, the easy paths rejected, compound into the life you'll have tomorrow. And make no mistake, the path to greatness is lonely. It has to be, because while everyone else is distracted by trivialities, you're focused on something higher. While they're seeking shortcuts, you're embracing the long game. While they're complaining about circumstances, you're changing them. This isn't about being better than others. It's about being better than your former self, about refusing to settle for the version of you that takes the easy way out. History doesn't remember the nearly great. It doesn't celebrate those who almost made it. The difference between obscurity and legacy isn't talent, it's tenacity. It's the willingness to outwork, outthink, and outlast everyone else. To fall down 7 times and get up 8. To treat every setback as setup for a comeback. So ask yourself, what are you willing to endure? How much discomfort can you tolerate? How many failures can you absorb on your way to success? Because your capacity for suffering determines your ceiling for achievement. The weightlifter grows stronger by embracing the burn. The scholar gains wisdom by wrestling with complex ideas. The artist creates beauty by pushing through creative blocks. In every field, growth demands resistance. This is why entitlement is the enemy of excellence. The moment you believe you deserve something you haven't earned is the moment you stop growing. Greatness requires humility, the recognition that no matter how much you know, there's always more to learn. No matter how skilled you become, there's always room to improve. The masters stay hungry long after others grow complacent. There will be days, many of them, when progress feels impossible, when the work seems pointless, when quitting whispers seductively in your ear. These are the moments that define you, not when motivation carries you forward, but when discipline drags you onward despite exhaustion. Because greatness isn't about inspiration, it's about installation. Installing the habits, systems, and mindset that produce results regardless of how you feel. The world is perfectly designed to keep you average, distractions abound, mediocrity is celebrated, Cutting corners is normalized. Rising above requires conscious, continuous rebellion against these forces. It means being unreasonable in your standards, relentless in your pursuit, uncompromising in your vision. You weren't put here to be ordinary. You were put here to push limits, break barriers, and leave a mark that outlasts you. But that requires something most aren't willing to give, everything they've got. Not just when it's convenient, but especially when it's not. Not just until it gets hard, but through the hardness. The price of greatness is paid in advance, in unseen hours, invisible struggles, and untold sacrifices. No one can pay it for you. No one can want it enough on your behalf. The transaction is between you and your potential. Either you meet its demands, or you live with the quiet regret of what might have been. So what will it be? Will you do what's required, or will you join the masses who settled for less? The choice is yours. The consequences are permanent. There comes a moment in every worthwhile endeavor when the initial excitement fades, the obstacles mount, and the path forward seems impossibly steep. This is the crucible where most people turn back, where they convince themselves that the struggle isn't worth it, that maybe they weren't cut out for this after all. But here's the truth they never grasp. That wall you've hit isn't a stop sign. It's the entrance exam. The difficulty isn't proof that you should quit. It's evidence that you're playing in the big leagues now. There are no detours around genuine growth, no backdoors to mastery. The only way out is through. Consider the athlete training for competition. When their muscles scream in protest during the final set, when their lungs burn with exertion, they face a primal choice: back off and remain where they are, or push through and become stronger than they were yesterday. This same principle applies to every domain of life. That difficult conversation you've been avoiding, the career leap that terrifies you, the personal transformation you keep postponing, there's no clever hack to bypass the discomfort. You must walk straight into it. Avoidance doesn't solve problems. It preserves them. The issue you refuse to face today will still be waiting for you tomorrow. Only now it will be bigger, harder, and more entrenched. History's most significant breakthroughs weren't achieved by those who found easy paths, but by those who kept moving when the path disappeared entirely. Imagine the scientist conducting experiment after failed experiment, the entrepreneur weathering rejection after rejection, the artist creating draft after imperfect draft. What separated them from those who gave up wasn't superior talent or luck. It was the raw determination to continue when every signal suggested they should stop. They understood something fundamental: the obstacle is the way. The resistance you're facing isn't blocking your path. It is the path. That difficult stretch you're in right now, that's not your story falling apart. That's the chapter where you get stronger. Modern society has become addicted to shortcuts. We want six-pack abs without giving up junk food, thriving businesses without sleepless nights, meaningful relationships without uncomfortable vulnerability. But life doesn't negotiate with those who seek easy answers. The quality of your character, the depth of your skills, the strength of your relationships, these aren't developed in comfort zones. They're forged in the fires of sustained effort and perseverance. When you hit that inevitable wall, when the progress slows, when the critics get louder, when the self-doubt creeps in, that's not the time to retreat. That's the signal that you're exactly where you need to be to reach the next level. Think of the most challenging period of your life, the one that shaped you most profoundly. Chances are it wasn't the easy wins, but the hard, fought victories that changed you, the nights you worked until dawn, the rejections you endured and learned from, the failures that forced you to dig deeper than you knew you could. These weren't detours from your path. They were the path. The moments you wanted to quit, but didn't, are the moments that redefined what you believed was possible. This is how resilience is built. Not through theory, but through the repeated experience of facing difficulty and discovering you're more capable than you imagined. The mind's first instinct when confronted with hardship is to seek escape, to rationalize why this goal isn't that important, why this struggle isn't worth it. but this instinct evolved for survival, not for greatness. The people who achieve extraordinary things aren't those who never feel like quitting. They're those who recognize that urge as a test, one they refuse to fail. They understand that on the other side of that resistance lies growth. That beyond that discomfort waits a version of themselves they can't yet imagine. The pain of pushing through is temporary, the regret of giving up lasts forever. This principle manifests in every area of life. Want to overcome anxiety? You must face what makes you anxious, not avoid it. Want to master a skill? You must endure the frustrating plateau phases where improvement seems impossible. Want to build something meaningful? You must weather the storms of uncertainty and criticism. In each case, there's no way around, only through. The magic happens not despite the struggle, but because of it. The musician's flawless performance was born from years of missed notes. The CEO, confident leadership, was forged through seasons of doubt and difficult decisions. The athlete's championship moment was built on thousands of unseen hours when they could have quit but didn't. When you find yourself in the thick of it, when every fiber of your being screams for relief, that's when you must remember, this isn't your breaking point. This is your making point. The difference between who you are and who you're capable of becoming lies in what you do at this exact moment. Will you fold, or will you dig deeper? Will you accept temporary discomfort or permanent mediocrity? The easy choice today makes every tomorrow harder. The hard choice today makes every tomorrow possible. There's a peculiar alchemy that occurs when you commit to seeing something through no matter what. Obstacles that once seemed insurmountable become manageable. Fears that paralyzed you lose their power. You develop what the ancients called grit, the ability to sustain passion and perseverance over the long haul. This can't be faked or shortcut. It only comes from repeatedly choosing to move forward when everything in you wants to stop. Each time you do, you're not just making progress toward your goal. You're rewiring your very identity. You're becoming someone who finishes what they start, who honors their commitment, especially to themselves. The world is full of abandoned projects, half-learned skills, and unrealized potential, all testaments to people who turned back when things got hard. Don't add yours to the pile. Whatever mountain stands before you, whether it's personal, professional, creative, or spiritual, the only way to the other side is straight over it, step by grueling step, day by exhausting day. The path won't get easier, but you will get stronger. The resistance won't disappear, but your ability to handle it will grow. This is how ordinary people achieve extraordinary things, not by waiting for the storm to pass, but by learning to dance in the rain. So when you're deep in the struggle, when the voices whisper that you should quit, remember, this isn't the end. This is where legends are made. The breakthrough isn't coming despite this challenge, it's coming because of it. Keep going, not because it's easy, but because it's worth it. Not because you're guaranteed to succeed, but because you refuse to let fear dictate your limits. The only way out is through. And on the other side awaits a version of yourself that only this journey could have created.